Salute and welcome back to Unknown Soldier Radio. I'm Dog Tags. As it relates to men and mice, modern day women, and relationships, there has been over the last 2 to 3 generations of red flags and prophets, so to speak, scientists and sociologists like Daniel Patrick Moynihan of the Moynihan Report, John B. Calhoun, who was an ethologist and was also a behavioral researcher. With the advent of technology in the informational age that we're in today, we have the ability to look up anything that our heart desires. But John B. Calhoun wanted to take a more holistic approach to behavioral study and decided to build a universe 25, a utopia for mice, to see their behaviors and how it coincided with the outside world. So he built this city, Mice City, we'll call it. And this would be the perfect city because there was no threat from outside predators. There was no threat from the environment. It was just a perfect habitat, or what would be called the perfect habitat for these mice. It was always clean. There was ample amounts of food and water. So this is Universe 25. He took 8 of the healthiest mice, 4 male mice and 4 female mice, and placed them inside Universe 25. Now, based on biology and nature, all he had to do was sit back and wait. So obviously mating and breeding occurred and everything was pleasant in Pleasantville, or this utopia for mice called Universe 25. So if everything is so perfect in Pleasantville, this utopia for mice, then what could possibly go wrong? I mean, they're just mice, you know. Well, the original mice who started the breeding, the males, would begin to assert their dominance over the younger mice. But see, the younger mice, they would still continue to grow and get older and challenge the authority of the older mice over space. And in this utopia built for mice, this Pleasantville, where it was perfect. All they had to do was eat, drink, sleep, procreate. That's it. And it was capable of holding over 3,500 mice at any given time, but the population never rose above 400. Well, how is that possible? You have an organizational structure that can hold over 3,500 mice, but the population never rises above 400? So now John B. Calhoun started to dial in on the societal aspect of these mice within this organizational structure. And what do you think these mice did? I mean, of course, there's no way you can compare mice, those mere mortals, to us because we're humans and we're definitely more superior than mice, right? Except the thing is, these mice, they formed a hierarchy. They formed a caste system within this utopia, Universe 25. Roughly 80% of the female mice would only procreate with the top 20% of the male mice, which left the other 80% of male mice to fend for themselves. And in fending for themselves, they started to develop certain habits, homosexual habits, asexual habits. And then there was even a group of mice that they called the probers, because they would have sex with the male mice. They would attempt to have sex with the stronger male mice, and also with the leftover 20% of the female mice. And those leftover female mice within this utopia would begin to breed and have children that they would stop taking care of. As a matter of fact, they would have these children and move to another part of the utopia within this space, and they would leave their children behind. And in those children that were left behind, they either died of malnutrition or starvation or were eaten by other mice. They started practicing cannibalism. And within the group of male mice that were left over, the ones that weren't homosexual or practiced asexual behavior, they just started to lay flat. They did nothing. And they were called somnambulists. But then there was another group of mice who just gave up altogether, and they began to dwell in the higher lofts of the utopia. And they were called the beautiful ones. And these mice, the beautiful ones, all they would do is eat, drink, sleep, but spent majority of the day in the mirror grooming themselves. So while all the other mice were down below in the lower portion of this utopia, fighting over mating and reproduction rights in space, in a space that could hold well over 3,500 mice, they chose to remove themselves completely and absolve themselves completely of the society. So now you have mice in an organizational structure where there's nowhere to go, but there's enough space to hold all these mice. But everyone is starting to slowly absolve themselves from the roles in society. Does this sound and look a little familiar to you? Because, I don't know, it kind of looks and sounds familiar to me. Because we live in a society where 80% of our women are only sleeping with the top 20% of men, which leaves the other 80% of the men to fend for themselves. And out of that 80% of men, some of them are homosexual, some of them are asexual, some of them are somnambulists, some of them are pansexual, some of them are probers. Do you see where I'm going here? So what is left to do in a society where everyone has completely absolved themselves of their natural gender roles? Do you expect men to stay in this utopia, this universe 25, and hope that things will get better? This is what John B. Calhoun had to say after the experiment had ended. And I quote, "I shall largely speak of mice, but my thoughts are on man, on healing, on life, and its evolution. Threatening life and evolution are the two deaths: death of the spirit and death of the body. Evolution, in terms of ancient wisdom, is the acquisition of access to the tree of life." So, when you're living in a society where men are unappreciated and unwanted and still want to build families with fit, feminine, and friendly women, which is the reason why men are taking their talents overseas, you have movements like the passport bros who have said, "I'm sick and tired of the way we are being treated here in our own country." What is the only alternative? The alternative is the solution. And you know what the solution is? To walk away and let it burn.